Close this up. Welcome to Suzerain. I actually don't know. I should have looked up how you actually pronounce the name of the game. But this is it's a political choose your own adventure book, I guess you could say. It's similar to, to Hearthfire 4 mods we play, like the New Order, for example. It's a lot of story based content in a political setting, but it's a little bit more focused than, say, any Hoi 4 mod that we played before, right? It's based, you're playing as one person the entire time, and you've got to deal with your family issues, you got to deal with the politics, the economy is garbage, and everybody hates you. We have played this 5 years ago now? When did the game come out originally? I think it was in 2020, so it's been like 5 years since we have played, Suzerain. I remember I was given an early copy of the game. So I actually played this before it even came out originally, and I had a lot of fun. I had a lot of fun with it back then. I'm gonna have a lot of fun with it hopefully now. I know it's been updated like quite a bit. There's a lot more going on than when I last played it. However, 5 years ago. And I know there's a DLC. I've never played the DLC. We'll probably do the DLC after we're done the main campaign at some point, but we'll just jump into it right away. So we'll start a new game. Enter game name. I mean, Anthem, I think is fine. Okay. Yeah, this is the DLC, which I apparently don't own it, but that's fine. We'll worry about that later. So, we are playing as Anton Rayne, the 4th president of Sordland. We were elected the 4th president amidst a deep recession, demands for reform, and external pressure. We're playing against the Republic of Sordland. I like the flag. I like these kind of colors they got going on here. We're Presidential Republic. We have 37 million people. We are currently in recession. We are a major player regionally. And it's 1954. So we'll just, we'll get started right away. So I'm not too sure exactly how we're going to play this. Because, of course, you can go different routes. You can align yourself with, like, the Eastern Bloc. You can align yourself with the Western Bloc. You can try to stay neutral. I think last time we tried to play it almost like a Yugoslavia, where we're kind of middle of the road, third power kind of thing. So we might play it similarly, we might play it different. We'll just kind of go with the flow. So it's 1908, the Kingdom of Sordland. You open your eyes to this world, and we came from. We can be impoverished from Deer. We can be a middle-income family from Holisord, or we come from a wealthy family in Lakavin. I think we'll go with a nice middle-class lifestyle here. Your parents named you Anton. As the only child of delinquent civil servants, you lived quite an ordinary childhood. Life was not bad. You were lucky enough to attend a well-known public school, but frequent fights broke out at the Rayne family home, made you feel uneasy, and the years passed. It's 1923, September 9th. During a history class at school, the bell started to ring unexpectedly. You heard a loud commotion outside. As everyone tried to figure out what was going on, the principal announced the historic revolution. The kingdom was no more. The Republic of Sordland was born. The only home we've ever known. We did not understand. We were happy that you had the day off, or we were somewhat worried. You know what? I think we're going to be a little happy. We got the day off. It's like a a Canadian kid. I was like, what, 5 when 9/11 happened? I had no idea what was going on, but my God, was I happy I got the day off in like junior kindergarten or whatever. 1926. After graduating, you passed the university exam with high marks. You had an opportunity to choose several studies, and we chose. You know what? I was a history major in university, so you know what? We'll do the history of the University of Culture. And during your first year, you attended a lecture with David Wishki, your teacher and mentor from university. He is the son of the 1st president of Sordland. He is a well-known diplomat from the Foreign Ministry and the son of the president. After observing the hall in silence, he explained why realpolitik is important for a successful foreign policy. He argued that the strategy was based on practical and material factors, which would be much more successful in reaching Sordland's ambitions. So do we agree with realpolitik? You know what? We agree in principle. We agree in principle here. In 1927, soldiers entered the campus the evening ahead of the first election. Many were in shock as the uniformed men created a security cordon and started arresting the teachers. A group of students started gathering in protest, along with your best friend, Peter Vector. And we decide to, protest. I mean, we'll go with our friend. One of the officers made a loud announcement that echoed through the campus. General Luderian has declared martial law in order to restore the administration. Please stand back and disperse to your rooms. You join the students that slowly march towards a large group of soldiers. So, General Luderian, he's a national general who led a military coup and declared martial law in 1927. I do like as well, in Suzerain, that a lot of these kind of important things are highlighted, that you can just kind of hover over them and give you like a little blurb, which I think is always quite nice. Students fell and were trampled as everybody started to run away. We'll hold our ground. The soldiers have beaten me relentlessly. Fantastic. It was a gloomy year. The coup split the students into two groups and caused frequent fights. Torture and imprisonment were of any opposing voice became daily routine at Deer. You didn't want to stay idle and decided to join. Political debates, student council. You know, we'll join the human rights group. I think that seems okay. A group heavily protested against the deteriorating human rights situation in Sordland. You contributed in thorough discussions on how to protect and expand freedoms. In one of the meetings, Peter Vectrin introduced you to a classmate of his, Monica. You were immediately attracted to... Yeah, we'll go with her intelligence. Always about the brain here. She mentioned to you that she was a volunteer in the Sordland's League of Women, an organization campaigning for women's rights. And you know what? We will agree wholeheartedly with her cause. You weren't particularly interested in women's rights, but you asked her for dinner nonetheless. We'll agree with her. The politically charged environment led you to join. We can either join the socialist, the nationalist, or we can kind of stay away from any political organization. You know what? I'm a free thinker. I'm an independent man. The radio relayed that the communist general Rickens surrounded Luderian and his troops, demanding their surrender. They refused, and heavy fighting broke out across the country. And you could not believe it, the army was fighting amongst themselves. So Rickard is communist general who led an attack in 1928, and Sordland was plunged into chaos. The clashes escalated into a full-blown civil war. The horrors made you isolate yourself for a while. Monica helped you cope, and love grew between the two of you. However, it was a difficult time for love. The chaos had to end. In 1929, the charismatic Colonel Tarkin Sol orchestrated a sudden attack on the capital, where the Luderinist and the Rickardist forces were battling each other. He defeated both, ending the war. A new constitution was written, and the military government began efforts to restore stability. Many saw the Colonel as a savior. He formed the United Sordland Party and ran as a presidential candidate in the first ever single-party election. You know what? We'll vote for the United Sordland Party. The USP won the election by a large majority. The military government announced a 4-year restoration period to transform to the entirety civilian government. After graduation, you kept seeing Monica. You were both interested in marrying and starting a family. However, a letter arrived from the military, calling you to fulfill your compulsory service. It was time to serve our national duty. The devastating civil war from neighboring Wayland quickly turned into a proxy war between regional and world powers. The distinguished Major Joseph Lesia ordered you to lead your squad on a border patrol mission. It was a very cold winter night when you began marching out to government outpost. You could see our breath. After several hours of marching through the snowy hills, distant noises were heard. Visibility was low to confirm the source, so the squad crawled forward in formation and found a spot to observe. A group of refugees had made it beyond their border. Well, you know what? We'll let them slip through. Let me just get some more water here as well. After the patrol, Major Lucia arrived with anger and immediately relieved you of your command, calling you a disappointment. One of your squad members had reported your actions. After several months of scrubbing the floors as punishment, your duties had ended when you went back to civilian life. In 1931, Monica decided to share our lives together. After receiving the blessing of her parents, the ceremony was held in Holsord. During the same year, you worked hard to secure a high-paying job within the governing United Sordland Party. It was much more difficult to start your career on a good foot because of the refugee incident, but you'd still managed. You can either work with the ruling party, financial compensation was too great to pass up, or it was a great opportunity to change the country for the better. You became the foreign policy assistant to one of the more experienced members of the assembly. You worked long and hard, reviewing dozens of foreign policy plans late into the night. Climbed the ladder. Torkin Sol gave amnesty to the remaining factions of the Civil War and chose de-escalation and appeasement. The institutions and symbols of the former kingdom were slowly replaced. His government launched several new initiatives, such as a citizen-funded build program to revitalize the economy, a social labor initiative to help rebuild and improve society, and a large dam project to solve the energy crisis. The first multi-party elections in the history of Sordland were held, and President Tarkin Sol was elected once more. In 1934, the preparation of a comprehensive trade agreement with Agnolia was occupying most of your personal time. While your significant contribution to the trade talk triggered an invitation to meet President Tarkham Sol himself, who offered you a key position. You were to become the youngest member of the assembly, and we accepted right away. Of course we did. Of course we're going to accept. Why would we say no? As the youngest member of parliament, it was difficult to connect with the influential inner circle. You needed allies, so you brought on Peter Vectron as your right-hand man. The birth of your son, Frank, provided a brief moment of joy and relief. We sacrificed time to spend with the family. You know what? We're going to be a family man. People love a family man, okay? Also, you don't know my webcam. It's not actually 60 FPS. I need to get a new webcam, for sure. During your absence, Peter Vectron found trustworthy contacts and strengthened your position in the party. At the same time, President Sol increased his authority over the years. His growing ego started to cause strife within the United Sordland Party. The cracks are beginning to show. Can I just press 1, 2, and 3, actually? Does that work as well? President Sol barely secured a majority in the election against the opposition leader. Oh, it's also 1945 now. Oh, wait, did we read these third and fourth wins? He's won 4 times. It's like his 5th win. He's kind of goated, man. Barely secured a majority election against the opposition leader. Over the next year, the Sword's people grew increasingly discontent with corruption and the worsening quality of life. Economic growth was slowing down. Meanwhile, calls for the United Sordland Party Congress became louder as the leadership struggled to brew, and you know what, we're going to join the internal opposition. You gave your support to Edward Alfonso, a reformist and talented business magnate, who was the main contender for party leadership. Meanwhile, in a desperate effort to secure votes before the Congress, President Sol was meeting party's members one by one, but he did not approach us. Very rude, by the way, very rude. 1946, August. The Congress had nothing short of impressive. The banners of the United Sordland Party were decorating every possible spot. Thousands of influential political figures, lobbyists, and benefactors gathered for this turning point. The voting for party leadership had begun, and we were going to vote for Edward Alfonso. The efforts bore fruit, and contentious leadership vote was won by Edward Alfonso. During the Congress, Tarkin Sol announced that he would retire from politics at the end of his term and appointed Alfonso as vice president. You knew the structure he had established was to stay, and the country had become increasingly authoritarian. I was just happy that Sol was finally leaving. A month later, your daughter Monica your daughter was born. Monica named her Dana. She motivated you during the tumultuous period of the party. As the vice president and leader of the USP, Edward Alfonso began dismantling old organizations and structures established by the USP, such as the State Educators Corps and assorted state corporation bills. The general election we're approaching the United Sordland Party was under new leadership. And you know what? We will join the party efforts and campaign with him. And during the general election, the main opposition leader was embroiled in a sex scandal with his secretary, and he was replaced by a more popular figure, Franz Richter. But the damage had been done. To do economic policies, an extensive privatization program proposed by Edward Alfonso secured an election victory for the United Sordland Party. So, okay, new popular figure from the People's Freedom and Justice Party, who currently serves as its leader. And over the years, we can make things better, we can try to climb the ladder, or we can dedicate ourselves to the party and its success. You know what? We're going to go a little bit different here. We're going to climb that ladder. The President Alfonso saw many bold reforms in government and law, and advancements in liberal democratic values. He valued your support throughout. However, due to infighting and disorganization, continental economic tensions, and fast-track privatization, it was followed by a severe economic recession. The other parties announced their bid for the 1953 election, but the unfair election system hampered opposition efforts to campaign. What should we do? Thought your party could not survive in the crisis, be worried about the economic recession, or worried that your reputation would be tarnished alongside Alfonso. Ensure that you advise Alfonso to step down? Okay. With Peter's help, your presence within the USP grew. The two of you worked long nights together, and he flipped opponents to your side. You became the face of the new wing of the party. Step by step, with adequate planning, your wing took over the leadership as President Alfonso lost control of the country. And the moment to make your move had come. So what do we want to do? We can advise him to step... you know what? Zaire? I don't know if that's how I say your name. Zaire? We're going to advise you to step down. Or advise Alfonso to step down. He listened to your advice. Alfonso conceded a leadership struggle and party eventually voted you becoming because of your indisputable influence. Following this, you announced that you would be running for president in the general election with Peter as your running mate. It was my turn. After visiting every city and town during the campaign, you made a speech on state television. We promise to enact democratic reforms. The people are tired of empty promises. We need fundamental change in our institutions and government. A solid and transparent democracy awaits us, brothers and sisters. A new constitution and a new age is upon us. On election day, millions went out to cast their votes. It was time to face the truth. Is there a way to actually lose this election? I don't think so, right? Like, it's a prologue. No matter what, we win. Okay. I think the only thing we're going to do is we're going to put on glasses because I also wear glasses, so I think that makes sense. What glasses do we want then? You know, let's go with some nice little thin ones here. Finish this up. We're not going to worry about customization too much. I don't care that much about that stuff. Election campaign promises. As Anton Rayne, you have made consequential promises to the people of Sordland to gain their votes in the 1953 election campaign. Consider these commitments carefully. Economic direction. As with the recent market reforms and recession, the country finds itself stuck between two different economic systems, with indecision and turbulence, causing the population to demand a direction. So we need to go for a planned economy, or we can go for more economic economy. So we can either, I guess, continue on market reforms, or try to have a more planned economy here. I'm not too sure which one we want. I'm guessing this kind of makes a difference as we go on a little bit further. But you know what, let's go for maybe, let's say, a more planned economy to begin with. Diplomatic leanings. The global rivalries between the capitalist Arcasia and the West, the monarchy of Runberg in the north, and the communist United Cartana in the east are intensifying. Sordland has the potential to align with others or lean towards neutrality. I think we want to remain neutral here. In the last 5 years, Bloodish, Wezjek, and Angolian immigrants flocked to Sordland due to relaxed immigration laws elected by President Eduardo Alfonso. As a result, these tensions are causing a request for a political solution. Let's retain the immigration for now. I mean, either go education, defense, law and enforcement, or health. I mean, education is always important. A more economic economy, exactly. The bigger the numbers are, I think, the better the economy will do. So we want to kind of focus on that. The once praised public education system of the nation has suffered significant setbacks in the last decade. The lack of new schools, high student-teacher ratios, low teacher salaries, and even a lack of classroom equipment in certain parts of the country has caused massive divergences in public education. Now, I feel like education is probably like the best bet. I don't know if we need to worry about defense too much. Or we could go with health. Sordland's health system and healthcare quality has stagnated due to administration inefficiencies, increased service demand, and increasing divide in service quality between urban and rural hospitals. Years life expectancy has dropped significantly, with issues such as maternity death and disease outbreaks. So I think we either go with education or health. And let's go with some health focus here. I think that seems okay. 2 weeks have passed since the election, and now I was being sworn as the 4th president of Sordland. Thousands were watching the inauguration ceremony and cheered my name, Anton Rayne. The die was cast, and there my story began. In the distant halls, Maroon Palace stood top of the famous Hill of Pride. I had no way of knowing what future awaited me there. I looked at my family, my son and daughter, Frank and Deanna. They were next to Monica, my wife. Her eyes were glimmering with pride. Then I turned towards the key people who made it all possible. Of course, each individual was promised an important position in my government. I saw my previous rival and former president, Eduardo Alfonso, who gave me a slight nod. Tarkin Sol was also invited, but as expected, he did not leave his island retreat. As my thoughts slowly faded away, the reality of the situation dawned upon me. Orso Hawker, the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court, was waiting for me. And I believe I clicked this, I get like a whole, you can get like a whole description about like every single character in the game. Which again, I love this world building that that they got in here. I'm not going to read this, but if you want to kind of pause and read this for yourself, you know, go ahead. Okay. The time for the oath has come. I am ready. Please repeat after me. I do solemnly swear that I will respect and execute the office of the President of Sordland, and do the best of my ability preserve, protect, and defend the people of Sordland and the Constitution of the Republic of Sordland. You may now deliver your inauguration speech, Mr. President. It is an honor, sir. Dear citizens of Sordland, The crowd looks very eager to listen to me. The current situation is dire. We are enduring economic hardship like never before, and today our nation is falling apart. Our people, we, suffer in this dire situation. Our workers are no less productive than a decade ago. Our capable minds are no less inventive. Our products and services no less requested than they were last week, last month, or last year. We can promise we can stop recession, the future awaits us, or we can try to rewrite the broken constitution. I'm trying to think, like, what would be a good way to start this off? I'm kind of leaning towards trying to rewrite the Constitution. I think could be a good start. But I think, you know what? I think just wanting to... I promise you, we will stop the recession and eliminate poverty. Change is now, not in the next decade or next year, today. Hundreds of thousands cheered. They were shouting my name in unison. I felt the responsibility, the power and burden all the same. You know, I'll raise my fist. Why not? I raised my fist in the air, which triggered a huge burst of applause. I took a long look at the people of Sordland to burn this moment into my memory. One of the presidential guards came by to notify me that it was time to leave. And I made my way to the leading car in the motorcade. The presidential state car was the jet black Cadilla with the flags of Sordland above the front headlights. Next to it, a man was holding a door. Sergei Walkner. Hello, Mr. President. I felt euphoric in the aftermath of my speech. Hearing my new title made me smile even more. If you allow me to introduce myself, I am Sergei, your new driver. It is a pleasure. The pleasure is all but mine. He respectfully bowed his head before opening the car door and gesturing me inside, and I entered the car. We'll be heading towards the palace. The motorcade began to move, and on the way, Sergei proceeded to explain his duties as the driver. As the minutes passed by, I found myself lost in thought again, barely paying attention to what he was saying. He suddenly gestured out the window. Isn't it a beauty, the Maroon Palace? Is there a picture of it? Is this the Hanging Sevilla? Okay, Maroon Palace is where the executive branch of the Sordland government is situated. It was constructed to serve as the summer residence of Albrecht Renan, but quickly became a structure of political importance. The turning point was when the Kingdom of Sordland was announced from the balcony of the palace, reflecting the shift in government power from Elroy to Hollisord during the transition period. Okay. He was right. Sunlight glinted off the palace's many maroon-colored domes. It was so bright that I had to look away. Every time I look at it, I remind my duty to this nation. It's just a building. We all owe a great debt to the men who led the country from here. You know what? So do I, Sergei. It is the beating heart of the nation, after all. Well said, Mr. President. The car drove past the majestic gates, continuing uphill to the entrance and stopping in front of the doors. Sergei got out of the car and opened it for me. Have a great day, Mr. President. I'm Morgana Westcor. He referred to the famous swordist phrase from the times of the Revolution, a Morgana Westcor Vectrin Sista, which means morning will come, victory is close. Okay, yeah, Vectrin Sista. I made my way upstairs through the extravagant corridors of the palace. Marbles and engraved wooden finishes decorated the interior. My footsteps echoed in the colossal halls. The guards bowed their heads in respect as they opened the massive doors to my new office. Okay. So we now can look at, you know, this is the map of Sordland. We have kind of all of our provinces. We've got Gruni, we've got Lorraine, Hollisord, Gersland, Brugria, Nargis, and Angland. And then we can also zoom out to the regional map, and we can see, you know, a lot more what's going on. So yeah, this is Sordland, this is our country. And then we have like the Kingdom of Runburg up here. We got Vagslind. I think they're actually I think they've actually added more to the map since when I played than when I played it 5 years ago. They decided to be nice, democrat, or authoritarian. I think we're gonna try to be, you know, democratic here. I don't want to be too authoritarian. Maybe when we play the DLC, whenever that is, we can be as authoritarian as we want there. But I think here we'll be a little democratic. So you can see all of these notifications. There's a lot of things to kind of take in. So right now the economy is unstable. We have the government budget currently is at 7 out of 30. Our personal wealth is 2 out of 15. Yeah, in every country, like there's so much here. Like it's actually, I'm gonna actually see if I can like move this light a little bit. But there is a lot of information you can kind of get out of Suzerain, which I really like. So, the Republic of Vaxland, congratulations on the Chancellor Hangel. He is saying congratulations to a great victory and wish a close cooperation between our countries in the future. He's saying no concessions from Vaxland in case of promising trade deal. He also congratulated the Sword's democracy for successful election and warned us of the threat of Acacia's growing influence poses in eastern Mirkopa. Yeah, there's actually... Are you also sending me stuff? Read the report. ATO advocates for global human rights amid tensions. In response to growing global tension, the Acacian Treaty Organization, an intergovernmental body and economic alliance of 14 countries, led primarily by Arcasia, has issued an expansive report examining the human rights worldwide, amid intensifying nuclear developments and efforts to counteract the expanding influence of the Katanan Security Pact. So, again, you can read this. We're not going to read every single thing that pops up. There is simply just too much information for us. So a lot of the stuff kind of internationally, we're not going to worry about too much. We are going to try to read, like, the most important stuff. But there is a lot, okay? So if this is not... This is definitely a game where maybe you want to listen to this while you're falling asleep tonight or something like that. The Heart of Sword Post. Campaign Bill. Fair representative of the Assembly. The long-stalled campaign bill is once again taking center stage in the Grand National Assembly. The bill, first proposed during the Alfonso presidency, has been put on hold due to the 1953 election, but has now been resurrected under President Anton Rayne. The proposed amendments ensure a more proportional allocation of public funds, more accurate reflection of party influence within the legislative body. President Anton Rayne has been sworn into duty in a grand ceremony in Halsord. Thousands have attended the ceremony where President Rayne has met his supporters for the first time after the election. In his inauguration, Rayne spoke about the current dire situation, bringing focus on the suffering of the Swordist people. We are enduring economic hardship like never before, and today our nation is falling apart, said the new president, before he went on to start his first day in the Maroon Palace. Okay. So I think for the most part when it comes to reading, like, the news, we're mostly going to try to focus on just sticking to, like, this little blurb here, and not worry maybe too much about what every single other country on the globe thinks, at least right now. President Anton Rayne. So this is Sordland today. I think each one of these is kind of has, like, its own political standing. So, you know, I think the House Sword Post is kind of like the Washington Post, I should say. Sordland Today, Sordland's most sold newspaper. I think The Economist, I think, is left-wing. The Latvian Times, I think, is right-wing. Radical, I think, also is, like, maybe libertarian. I don't remember quite exactly. But anyway, Sordland Today. President Anton Rayne. The new president has been sworn into office by Chief Justice Arso Hawker. Another great win for the USP and Anton Rayne, who managed to get 37% of the general vote. The first congratulations came from Kerso Kilber of the National Front Party, which finished third in the election race and entered the assembly. The runner-up for the general vote was the PFJP. Didn't concede until the last minute, but results were clear since several hours in. Thousands of supporters have gathered in the streets of Hardisword, chanting campaign slogans, waving flags, and displaying USP party banners to display unwavering support for the newly elected president. The public mood is very positive in the capital, from all accounts. The city is celebrating that the Hardisword has become the president of Sordland. So The Economist. And Solonomics. A new era has begun for Sordland, and today many economic questions will be needed to be answered by President Rayne. Our top economic analysts, with consultation for the National Business Council, have released comprehensive report on the performance of the past 20 years. A certain section of the report stands out. The last two 4-year plans have, of the plan doctrine, created a budget deficit and clear reduction for the industrial production output. This was specifically managed due to mismanagement and inefficient bureaucracy. The year-on-year growth, balanced budget, and production indexes indicate that the two most productive consecutive years have been when the privatization program under Alfonso began in 1949. Our editorial team, with the help of experts like Mikhail Avin and Egit Egnot, have come to the conclusion that the recession was not actually caused by Alphonomics, but by the drastic obstruction of state executives hindering the plan. President Rayne must take the advice of plan economic proponents around him with a pinch of salt. Otherwise, he could find himself in the same spot that Takwa and Sol did in the 40s. Okay. So economics, okay, so this is not the left-wing newspaper. Is Radical the left-wing one up? I think so, okay. Radical's the left-wing, Voices of the Unheard. The Economist is for, I guess it's kind of like maybe like the Financial Times. Sordland Today is, I mean, it's the most sorted newspaper. Is it just like the New York Times, maybe? I don't know. The Latvian Times. The new assembly duty begins. Or begins duty. I can read. President Anton Rayne was elected 4th president of Sordland in the 7th Sordist election. The United Sordland Party has won the election on Sunday with just over 37% of the votes. While Franz Richter, the leader of the People's Freedom and Justice Party, could gain just over 20%. Casaro Gabler, the head of the right-wing National Front Party, is in 3rd place with just over 11%. The Communist Party of Sordland and the Workers' Party of Bludia both won just below 10% of the vote, passing to fail the 10% election threshold. The new term begins with the opposition to the PFJP and the NFP under the USB government. The unrepresented votes from below the threshold resulted in USB taking 52% of the seats in the Grand National Assembly, giving them lawmaking power. The new seat numbers have been finalized as follows: USP 130, PFJP 70, NFP 40, and Independence 10. If you're thinking about this game as a newspaper, just so relatable and funny, it feels like how actual modern day news works. I do enjoy it. I really just like I really just like Suzerain. I think it's really good. I'm surprised it took me 5 years to get back to this. Do you have any plan in mind? I mean, I want to try to get the Constitution reforms. I'm going to try to stay neutral and kind of go for like some sort of like mixed economy. I think that's kind of what we're going to try to aim for and see how that works for us. And Radical. Another USP president. How many times will people fall for the same trap? We've seen this before with Colonel Sol, who supposedly saved this country and brought stability in times of chaos. His stability, however, meant a life of oppression. Any opposing voices were silenced. And many were persecuted. Next was Alfonso, who elected as a liberal reformer to bring changes to the USP and Sordland. Seeing his unfortunate inability, his own cabinet resigned. As the 3rd USP candidate to become president, it is high time to realize that real change won't come from their party. And geopolitical, we don't have any information about that yet, but I'm assuming that'll maybe come in when, you know, other countries start doing stuff as well. So, exclamation point means that this is like the next story beat. And then we have all of these reports from all these towns as well. So what do we have? Low production in Agland. Reports call attention to the alarmingly low levels of production growth in the region of Agland, where those are also high rates of food insecurity, malnutrition, and rural poverty in inner parts of the region. Oh, I can actually just press this and it kind of goes to the next one. Oh, that's actually really nice. Congratulations, Prime Minister Alvarez. He's congratulated us, fantastic. And he warns us of the threats of the encroaching and malevolent influence of United Cortana from the east. Congratulations, decided to normalize political situations. Congratulations, PN Van Horten. So I'm guessing you're like the Dutch here. Can you trade partnership between our two countries equal partners, as opposed to earlier trade deals, which he believes gave Sordland unfair advantages. The mayor of Avori, Eric Neil, reports a lack of adequate infrastructure around Avery, which seriously undermines the attractiveness of Avery's investments. Foreign investors, particularly from Agnolia, are becoming hesitant to invest in the city. Meanwhile, according to data published by the National Business Council, around 19% of the company's total expenditures of Agland were absorbed by logistic costs, while in peer regions, this figure is below 10%. In a recent update from Hoslord, the mayor expressed growing concerns about escalating traffic congestion linked to the city's burgeoning population and rapid urban expansion. The logistics report pinpointed the significant issues with traffic volume and subsequent slowing of transportation routes to the capital's most pressing issues. The mayor stressed that this lack of a comprehensively designed, large-scale, land-based logistic hub serving as a converging point for all transporters is exacerbating the issues faced by domestic transporters. Given Hoslord's status as a sprawling metropolis, the current situation where transporters have established separate centers of 10 different districts is scattered and inefficient. You know, I'm going to actually just press on the screen because then I can actually know where I'm going to be going next. Hello, Templin Senator. How are you? Long time no see. The port of Lackfin loses importance. The latest marine traffic reports show that the port of Lackhaven is no longer the busiest of the Marcopa continent, falling behind to 3rd position. While this is a negative indicator of our administration, Lackhaven has the sales potential to shine again as a major trading center. The port of Lackhaven is the largest port in Sordland and holds enormous importance for the economy, particularly as the main distribution center linked to the capital and inner parts of Sordland to the rest of the world. The major port city will hopefully keep the surrounding possible economic upturn in the entire country if the investment project succeeds. Fantastic. Okay. And also, like, you can click, like, any of these towns, and it will give you ethnicity ratings. It'll give you religions. It'll give you population. It'll give you GDP. And then you can also read about, like, every single town in the game if you want to. Inadequate railway. It's got a PFJP mayor. What do you got? You've got Gateway, PFJP mayor, your industrial center. Very swordish. I don't really know anything about, like, any of these religions. I'm guessing they're probably in the codex, so you want to go learn more of those as well. Okay. Got high homelessness. This is in the Bergia Special Zone, discovered by the Governor of Bergia from the headquarters of the Special Zone of the Air. And you're also a holy site. Okay. Okay, we also have reports. You know, city information, USP mayor. We got logistical issues at the industrial center. This is the current capital of the country. Okay. What's the report saying here? General Staff gathers. General Staff convened right after the election to congratulate our victory. All branches of the Swordlish Armed Forces were represented in the meeting that took place at Camp Strongarm, with a massive security measures. The Chief of the Armed Forces, Valikin Kruger, made a public press statement highlighting the increased chances of military confrontation in Eastern Morgulpa and requested support to strengthen the military. So what do you want to do first? We've got two briefings right now, but the political situation, the economic situation. Let's go with the political situation first. I think that makes sense. Peter Vectron arrived a couple minutes early and sat across from me. He was struggling to hold back a smile. We did it. Oh, okay. Let me take a sip first. Whoa. We did it, Anton. We won. Finally. All those years of our noses to the grindstone has paid off. Peter's eyes sparkled. The strain of the past months had put a damper on his usual rakish charm, but today he was looking and acting more like his old self. He loosened his tie and undid the top two buttons of his shirt. God damn. Okay. Ooh. Ooh, my God. I mean, we'll join you. We'll join you there. Okay. And joining the secretary I picked for you? I thought you'd appreciate her gorgeous set of talents. It's a shame the rest of your staff aren't as easy on the eyes. He gestured to the slight pouch of it that protruded over his waistband. But hey, back in university, did you ever imagine that we would be sitting here in the Moon Palace? We had to celebrate this great victory. Okay, let's celebrate. What do we want? What do we want? We can celebrate at the inaugural ball. We can get you know what? Let's have a little drink now. I mean, we deserve it. We have just won the presidential election. I think I can have like one little sip of liquor at my desk, you know? Let's celebrate then. I got my hands on something special for us. An Elroy Maroon, 30 years old. Oh, I got a collectible whiskey bottle. Look at us go. I opened the expensive bottle of whiskey and poured it onto the two glasses that I prepared. The exquisite smell filled the room immediately. The 1924, that was my freshman year. Also the year after the revolution. It was very difficult times, to be honest. But this smells like heaven. The future awaits, Peter. The future awaits. I raised my glass and toasted with Peter before smelling the whiskey and taking a sip. The sweet vanilla tone combined with the oaky taste developed into a lingering smokiness. Peter really seemed to be enjoying himself. What a taste! How should we get started? Oh, wait, no. This is how we should start all meetings, Anton. We wouldn't get much done. You remember the last administration? Yeah, but we're different. All they did was enjoy the privilege. Can't make the same mistakes, Peter. We can't make the same mistakes again. And we all learned from it. I do hope so. The door swung open and Lucien Galade, my chief strategist, walked in. He was a compact man with sharp bird-like features. After briefly surveying the room from wall to wall, he sat down and he poured a glass of water and opened his briefcase with a series of quick, graceful moments. Gentlemen. The tall case clock in the room struck 3 o'clock. Damn, you're exactly on time. Hello, Peter. Lucien then turned towards me. He's very slightly bowed his head. You know what? This seems like a man that does not want to waste any time. So you know what? Let's not waste any time, Lucien. Go ahead with the overview. As you wish, sir. Lucien spoke in a soft, clipped tones that immediately drew your attention towards what he had to say. Peter and I waited for him to proceed. Let's start by evaluating our current situation. Majority of the Swordlish people demand change, and they are more concerned about the economy than the Constitution, but they blame the system for their problems. People are losing their trust in our democracy. Why do you think radicals like Bernard Kircher are becoming more popular? Everybody's expecting us to bring the change that last government did not. You are a swordless poetess, novelist, short writer, and communist politician. He's aimed at lyrical flow. So I'm guessing, are you the leader of the Communist Party? You joined the Red Youth during the Swordlish Civil War and fled Sordland after the war was over. He returned to Sordland. He became the first communist to be elected to the Grand National Assembly of Sordlands. Okay. Get him out of here. Franz Richter, leader of the Reformists, believes that true change can only be accomplished by transferring some of our powers to the Assembly. I will move into the details of their demands shortly. So we can democratize, we gotta listen to the people if we want to serve this country. If we lose power, we need to listen to the people if we are to serve this country. That's exactly what we campaign for. A true theories of a deep state, a hidden network of power said to exert control over the state apparatus. This clandestine web of influence is rumored to be preeminent key organizations in the government, effectively shaping policy decision-making from behind the scenes. Critics, however, dismiss the notions as urban myths. Okay. Mr. Ricker managed to persuade many members of the Assembly to give their support to drafting a new constitution. Reformist politicians are quickly increasing in number. While the reformist wing inside our party is still a minority, we could have a tripartisan majority in the Assembly, especially if they unite under Franz Richter. Okay. He could be a potential ally in our goal of maintaining a majority in the Assembly. Okay, he could be a potential ally. He's definitely key in this. The reformist demands are clear. They want to limit the president's veto powers. They want to ensure the Supreme Court is independent and take away the court's right to vote on constitutional amendments. Balance of power. Listen to their demands. Yeah, we need a proper balance of power in the country. I agree. We can't ignore the winds of change after all. The Old Guard will do its best to preserve the Constitution. Chief Justice Hawker and his allied judge that will have influence over the Supreme Court. It'll be tough to break. The court has also its final say over constitutional legislation. Without their approval, we cannot even change it. We can break the power of the Supreme Court. Comprehensive bill that balances the power structure more fairly. You know, let's try to break the power of the Supreme Court. I agree. They have too much power over Swordlish politics. We need to take away their vote in constitutional legislation. It's absurd that they can't vote for bills when they aren't even elected. It looks like we cannot underestimate the situation. We can figure it out. Our party still holds 130 out of the 250 seats of the Assembly. We've got the power. However, to reform the Constitution, we must receive 2/3 majority in the Grand National Assembly, which is 166 votes, and a simple majority in the Supreme Court, which equates to 6 votes. After we have settled on how to proceed, we will need to talk with our party figures. Our first goal must be to get 150 signatures needed to start the process. We in 3.1? We're in, I think so. So it's whatever the most updated version is. Following the green light from the USP, we will reach out to the other party leaders to see if they would back our draft. The last step is to convince the justices of the court. The entire process will take a long time, but we must start working with the Reform Committee to evaluate all possibilities for a constitution as soon as possible. Okay. Okay, we need to write a more democratic constitution with the reformist. That's what we've been preparing for internally. Don't forget the promise that is what got us elected. The key thing here will be to strengthen the power of the Assembly, which we already lead a majority in. Peter nodded in agreement. Yes. The division of power needs to be rebalanced for a better Sordland. According to the internal draft we made with the reformists, there are 2 changes to the Constitution that are not open for their discussion. Lucien opened the dossier. First, the Supreme Court will no longer vote on constitutional amendments. Second, the president's absolute veto must be taken away. This can be replaced with a limited veto system by fixing current loopholes. I have no problem with these clauses. Let's work with the reformist. Yes, sir. We'll form a reform committee together with all the parties and reach out to all stakeholders in the Assembly and the courts for a new constitution. By later in the year, we'll have an idea of the reformist content and what the other parties want. Lucien took some notes. Another important point, we must be aware of the Lothamer group. The oligarchs convene under the organization to influence economic policies. Conrad Correnti led it for a long time before falling ill. The new leader is Mr. Walter Tusk. Okay, millionaire businessman, investor, and current spokesman for the Lothberg Group. He owns The Economist Group, which publishes the well-known newspaper, The Economist. He is a major stakeholder in the sword steel company, Bergia Steel. According to the Latvian Times, he is the 8th richest sword as of 1953. According to the report, some members of the National Business Council are in their pockets. Tusk and the group will surely try to bribe us in exchange for our special economic protections. We want to work with them anyways. I will not be bought. It will not happen. Alfonso said the same thing. I doubt there was anybody else to turn to in his case. Lucien looked at Peter. As far as I know, Conrad Saad Marcel is strong ties to the group, and his influence could definitely be an asset to us, but I'm sure he'll want something in return. Tusk is heading the group. We should make sure he's on our side. Is an important force. Okay. I'm aware of Mr. Krenti's wide networks. That could come in handy. We just need to be careful with them. He looks like the lesser evil, but it could very quickly turn out to be the other way around. We need to tread carefully on all sides with the power players to survive our term. I need to underline the seriousness of the situation. The military and the general staff are a powerful element in the state. As our history tells us, a dangerous one too. We do have some room to make structural changes, but reducing their budget, for example, but it is quite limited. Okay. Don't want to die in prison. With the Wurmberg set on our horizon, we can't reduce our general defensive capabilities and anger our general staff. Okay. With the Wurmberg threat on the horizon, we cannot reduce our defensive capabilities. I would advise the same. The budget should be maintained, and we should refrain from confronting the military too directly. Defense Minister Josef Licia is more loyal to us compared to General Kruger, a fact that obviously can change with her actions. Either way, we see a potential rip between the two, since they are clearly of different minds. If we act strongly against the military, both of those guys unite against us. I agree with Lucien. We need to tread carefully here. Well then, gentlemen, precisely 30 minutes. This concludes our political briefing for today. Our next meeting will be about our media strategy. I will talk to you soon, sir, and I will keep in touch. I'll see you both in the next meeting. Lucy and Peter bid their farewells and left. A mysterious amount of smoke was rising far away in the horizon.